Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle. Markin guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome in on this Monday. Hope you're having a great day. Hope your weekend was fun and ready to get your week started. Because if you're not, you don't have a choice. We have to do it, right? Looking forward to talking to Charlie Miller today, as always, as he'll join us shortly. Jim Reamer will join us. See what else we can find out, what happened over the weekend, how your weekend was. We're 2 days away from decision day of Jalen Hood-Schifino, and all things are suggesting that's going Indiana's way. So that should be good. Looking forward to that. And just talking about the weekend, it's just been a hot one, man. It's just been hot. High school football got underway in Indiana Friday. So we'll see how that went for you. You can let us know if your team won, if they lost. Still got Scott Frost in the headlines. Don't know what's going to happen over there. The Reds, Joey Votto, still hitting the ball, man. He tied Johnny Bench for the all-time fifth on the Reds all-time home run list, I think. The Reds have won 7 out of their last 10 games. Unfortunately, Milwaukee has won 7 out of their last 10 games as well. They can't gain any ground. But they're have gained ground for the wild card spot, as I think they're a game up on the Padres for that. So go Reds. See what they can get done. Carson Wentz, it's looking like he's going to be making – it's so funny. I can't wait to talk to some of our Colts guys, but Matt Taylor and whomever. But, boy, the better the Eason has looked in the preseason. Isn't it funny how fast Carson Wentz came back? Originally, it was going to be 5 to 8 weeks. Boy, he's just coming back real quickly now that he's looking good in the preseason. Going to give him possibly a run for his money. Closer and closer to football kickoff as that's 2 weeks from this past weekend. Holy cow. Can't believe that, as that is right around the corner. Actually, college football will start the week next weekend, I think, is week 0, as they're calling it. But I think there is a game or two. We'll pull that up and see who opens that up.
The very first college football game this season is Nebraska at Illinois.
Oh, isn't that going to be wonderful? If Scott Frost loses that game, that would be wow. First of all, you've got Brett Bielema coming in first year. That would be embarrassing. Illinois is just not a very good program, so that's a must win for him. But where is that game?
So that game was originally supposed to be over in Ireland, I believe.
Yeah.
But that's no longer the case because of COVID. They'll be playing in Champaign.
Well, yeah, it was canceled from last year. Actually, I believe. Wasn't it?
Well, if it was also supposed to be this year, but now it's also only going to be played in Champaign.
Ross says hello, everybody. Jennifer jumping on as well. When is the Big Ten going to announce their COVID protocol? Dustin has been tweeting about the lack of communication for the Big Ten. That's been a constant, a lack of communication since Kevin Warren took over. There you go, Michael. How about them Reds? Yeah, ever since he took over, it's been we talked about this all last year, the flip-flopping, the Ohio State thing. You know what you're going to get with him. It's football season. His Greyhounds came back from 17 down at Trinity and won. Wow, that's a hell of a win. So Carmel, I saw the score early. I didn't see the final score. Well, I'll pull those up, but that's a great win to come back at Trinity in Louisville. That's in Kentucky. The Catholic schools dominate football generally. Trinity, one of those schools down there in Louisville that generally dominates that level. So that's a heck of a win. Congratulations. Tim says all the Big Ten teams playing a Big Ten team to start the season, or he's asking. I don't know. You have to Google that. I don't have all the schedules up for everybody. I doubt that very seriously. I doubt that all the Big Ten teams are doing that. I don't know how and why that is determined to ever happen. No one would want to start the season with a conference game. Go ahead, John.
Here's some of the opening games that aren't conference games. Rutgers will play Temple. Let's see the other ones.
That's not well. Temple had gotten up there.
It just went from showing me the Big Ten to showing me everybody. Michigan will play Western Michigan. Maryland will play West Virginia. So you got a few other teams that aren't going to be starting off against conference competition. Illinois, well, no, that's week 2 because they played Nebraska in week 0. So there's at least 3 Big Ten teams, it looks like, that aren't starting off playing each other.
Well, that's the way it normally is. Again, I don't know how and why they choose to do what they do with this. With some, I heard Kirk Ferentz say that this is the first time since 1979 that Iowa has opened the season with a conference opponent, and ironically, it was Indiana. But Indiana has done this twice now in the last few years, and I think it happens again in a few years. So I don't know how one team can do this 3 times in a matter of 7 years, and one team hasn't done it in 3 decades. That's what's the deal with that? Let's see. Gary Parrish just tweeted, among the final text from Darton Bardo sent to his wife from the hospital was one imploring her to get vaccinated. Rough news to start the week. Just reading that tweet. Yeah, it is. So I'm not going to go down that road. But for 2023 4-star combo guard Ja'Kai Newton seeking his seeing his recruitment take off after a great summer. There's a story in Rivals that you can see it on thehoosier.com. And speaking of thehoosier.com, man, if you are not going after that incredible offer that's going, 80% off, it's $1.68 a month. So if you listen to the show, I hope you support Rivals and those writers and everything that they do, the coverage, going on the road to cover all the games. It's $1.68 a month, man. Everybody can do that. So please, if you do not have a Rivals account, go get yourself one. Indiana Rivals, thehoosier.com. It's only $1.68 a month. Sign up. Help support those guys. We also support the IU students as we use them and as interns and whatnot, and give them opportunities as well. So that helps us do that. How is your day going? How did your weekend go? What is new? What's coming up? Got some comments up already. Exciting race from Michigan Sunday, NASCAR. I know who won. I saw the end, but I didn't really get to see the end, so I'm gonna watch that yet. Chase Briscoe having pretty good runs here late. I don't know how he finished yesterday, but when I looked, I know he was in the top 10 at one point. Last week was there, had a shot to win it. I thought he was going to win it at Indianapolis. He won the Xfinity race there last year on that road course, but was not to be. But man, he's certainly got a bright future. Good for him. Yeah, I can't believe the Hendricks guys got beat. Dave Blaney, that's who it was. Or Ryan Blaney. It was Ryan Blaney, I believe. So the Colts practice heading up there. About to talk to Bob Kravitz a little bit. He's heading out to practice. Carson Wentz. How about him going to week 1 is not out for him, like I said a minute ago. It's crazy. but competition sure makes you heal fast. In the Big Ten, the common perception for years has been that the Big Ten East Division is stronger than the West. Well, that's because it's true. One of the things about this alliance, the Big Ten ACC Pac-12 alliance, is what I was told. The divisions will go away for Big Ten fans, which it is great. It's ridiculous. It's good. That would be good for Indiana, but the divisions are ridiculous anyway. It doesn't matter who you lose to in the Big Ten. And this conference, the scheduling is difficult because the Big Ten is the only one of the only conferences that plays a 9-game conference schedule, or most others are playing 8, which gives them 4 non-con games, but it's also one less guaranteed tough game to have to play. But this new alliance will allow those divisions to be wiped away. Now, I don't know how it's going to go if you're going to play a game against all 3, or how that's going to happen, but we'll certainly see how that's going to be out. But it's Charlie Miller dropping in now. Hey, Charlie, how are you, sir?
How you doing, guys?
Cannot complain. Just talking about things that happened over the weekend and all that. Right now, I was talking about the alliance that's happening with the Big Ten, the ACC, the Pac-12, and on the football side, how the divisions will go away if that is the case, which they're kind of pointless now anyway, because it doesn't matter if you lose to Wisconsin, who's not in Indiana's division. It still hurts them and counts against them. So they need to go away anyway. But that certainly is going to give those 3 conferences, and the Big Ten wasn't hurting, but it gives the Pac-12, the ACC, it doesn't give them more power, but it takes the power away from the SEC, which is what they were trying to do by gaining Texas and Oklahoma.
Right.
Now they've got a 3-conference voting block against them if they try to do something that helps them better with the football playoffs. I don't know where that's going to go. It's getting so crazy. I mean, man, it was all fun and easy. You knew who was on every baseball team. The conferences were the conferences. The Big Ten was the Big Ten with 10 teams and all that. But it sounds like, the grandpa's talking now. We're sounding like old people talking.
Yeah.
Back in my day, man, this and that and the other thing. And we're
a lot of movement.
Now we're the old people.
Yeah, it's a lot of movement. Yeah, I wonder. It's interesting how it's going to all work out with the 3 conferences coming together with particular sports, because as we know, it's not going to be all sports. So it's going to be interesting. I definitely say that.
Absolutely. We got more to talk about it. We've got that and Charlie Miller on now, so we've got plenty to get to. We'll see how his weekend went, and we'll see how yours went as well. Let us know on the comments. We'll be back to talk about it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans. Oh, boy, that daggone thing is killing me this morning. What, ulcer?
Oh, yeah?
It just comes out of nowhere, man.
Oh, man.
Hey, Charlie, is there any way you can turn up your microphone a bit? Or maybe, actually, let me see if I can do it on my end first.
Okay.
Sometimes I can do it on my end.
Okay, let's see.
Oops. Let's see. Okay, I turned you up a little bit. Let me hear you talk.
How's that?
That's better. There we go. I like that better.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Sometimes StreamYard actually, I feel like it adjusts people's microphones on their own. I don't know why it does that, but.
And I'm using my iPad, but I'm normally using my phone, so that might be a little difference too.
Oh, okay. That could be something.
Yeah, that's probably what you're not used to me using.
If you're ever out and see a microphone that works for your iPad, get it.
Okay.
I'll pay for it.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You could probably get them for like $25-$30 or.
Yeah, definitely. I've been looking anyway on Amazon, so I appreciate that.
Oh, man.
John, do I look far away?
I think it looks fine.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll keep it as is.
Man, it's a quiet Monday morning.
Is it, huh?
Well, yeah, and I'm quiet. I don't feel good.
I hear that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the commercials back on.
Family, meeting for lunch, hanging with friends, or on the golf course, Sam's Restaurants has multiple locations and something for everyone. Sam's Restaurant in Fishers has homemade coffee cakes and much more. Sam's Place in Broad Ripple has wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Charlie Miller with us, as always. John, the producer. Let's see. Is the Little League World Series over? Was that the final game we're reading about? Cal Quantrell struck out 9 over 7 shutout innings. Did they play a major league game at Williamsport?
Oh, wow. I saw the cab. I think the Indians, or at least a player, was interviewed.
Yeah, the Indians shut out the Angels. I didn't know that they were doing that.
That's what that was about. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know they were.
Yeah, because
how's that place big enough to play in?
Who knows, right? But if there was, I saw a small clip of a Little League baseball player interviewing.
Okay,
some
they announced
players.
it. Major League Baseball announced yesterday that the Red Sox and the Orioles, who were supposed to play in 2022 or 2020, will meet in Williamsport in 2022. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty neat.
The Little League World Series runs through August 29th.
I saw there was a no-hitter too.
Yeah, that's right, John.
Yeah,
I'm going to jump in here for a second. Thank you, Charlie.
Okay,
yeah.
That's all good.
So I was kind of doing some other things while he was setting up. What was he about to get into?
Well, then we were talking about Little League baseball. I mean, we don't talk about that. I mean, we can segue and go into, other things if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely not a Little League baseball person myself either. But I'm not sure if you're a football person, but college football is about ready to start week 0 this week.
Well, hey, look, I'm a fan of all sports, and what better sport than football? I know it's coming up this week and the following week too. Normally, big games happen around Labor Day or right around it. So,
Labor Day weekend is the big week 1 kickoff. But this year, and I think they may have done it a couple of other years, starting to begin the season, they call it week 0 now.
Right.
It's the week before all of the major games get going, and they have 5 games this week. Normally, one of them is played in an exotic location or somewhere overseas.
Right.
Like, for example, this year's Nebraska-Illinois game was originally supposed to be played over in Ireland.
Oh, man, wow.
But because of COVID, and I think Jim was telling me earlier that game was supposed to also – this game was a COVID reschedule from last year. So this is the second time it's been postponed from being played overseas.
Yeah.
But so Nebraska will kick off not only the Big Ten slate, but they will be the very first college football game, Nebraska at Illinois this Saturday at 1 o'clock. And then the 4 other matchups you have UConn at Fresno State. Fresno State's head coach is actually Kalen DeBoer, which is Indiana's most recent offensive coordinator right before Nick Sheridan. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. You also got Hawaii at UCLA, UTEP at New Mexico State, and then Southern Utah at San Jose State to round out the Week 0 lineup this Saturday.
Looking forward to that, man. I look forward to some college football. It's exciting to have it back, to see it. Fresno State, it'd be fun to watch them. And Scott Frost, it's fun to. Is this the beginning of the end for him? Charlie, last week, Scott Frost. Yeah. I mean, and he's a guy that likes to not get himself in trouble, but he certainly likes to run his mouth a little bit, and that's fine if you're sitting in a position to do that. And
Right.
but he has not been in that position, especially at Nebraska. And as a matter of fact, I think that this is now, especially after what happened, this could be his last season, period. But without a winning season, a bowl game, this is his last season in Nebraska. He's got a brand new athletics director that did not hire him. So that's just like any company, man. They like their own people, or anything. You like your own people that you work well with, that you know you communicate with, that you trust, that you want to put the trust in, and especially when things aren't going well. And things are not going well for Nebraska football.
Well, similar situation I think that happened at IU with basketball, right?
Yeah.
New AD come in. I mean, now everybody, at least an evaluation has to take place before you start to, I guess, put in some type of performance development plan. So, yeah, I mean, put up or shut up. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you haven't had a winning season. I mean, you got to think about that from the aspect of coaches, too. I mean, they start putting in those resumes and requests other places very soon.
Wyatt went to the Bloomington South game
Nice.
Friday night. I was out there for a bit.
Okay.
I got there towards the half, later than I'd wanted to. Bloomington South had 3 fumbles in the first half and was still up like 12-0 when I got there. They scored again right 5 seconds to go in a half. 2-point conversion to Desan McCullough in the corner. And then they let New Albany run the kickoff back at the half. It was 20-7 at the half, but they didn't have much problems there.
That's a sign of a great, that's trust on the defensive side, right? I mean, 3 fumbles, you feel good about it getting back, just, not even being there. That's trust on the defense side, that's a saving grace in itself. Because normally 3 fumbles, man, that's not a good outcome. And New Albany, they didn't convert one of those fumbles, did they, to any type of field goal? Or that's tough. 3 and out on those fumbles, man. That's hard.
Man, you can't get 3 first half fumbles on the road and do nothing with it.
Oh man, that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, at least get 3, right? I mean, you get 3. I mean, at least get 6. You get 6. I mean, now you never know what's happening offensively, defensively, but you don't convert any of those. Wow, that's tough.
Ryan asked, how's your golf game, Charlie? We played years ago when you were playing for the Gary Railcats.
It was a steelhead, but I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
At Supervisors Country Club.
Hey, listen, I appreciate that. And Ryan, I must confess, I probably played about 12 to 15 plus rounds in the last few weeks. I've dropped about 10 to 12 plus strokes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. But I mean, and I'm establishing a handicap. I don't have one yet, but I'm establishing one. The last 4 rounds, I've literally scored a 93 on. It's like funny. It's like it was like 48, 45, 93, 93, 93. So it's dropping, and I'm getting more consistent. So I'm proudly.
That's scary. That's scary for people to hear that have been playing for quite some time. Charlie is just now trying to get his golf game going. So if his strokes are shedding strokes like that, he's going to be in the 80s next week. He's like Josh Hoover that plays football for that's going to be playing football for Indiana. The first time he shot like an 83.
Right,
I mean,
right.
golly,
Hey, did you
guys.
know? I'm not sure if you know, or I know, man, it's discussed. J.R. Smith, who former NBA player, he enrolled at HBCU, North Carolina A&T, to hopefully be allowed to play golf. Now, he never went to college. I don't know how that's going to work, but basically, he went straight from high school. He was slated to go to UNC.
So he still has his eligibility then.
So he literally enrolled several weeks ago to go to NC A&T in hopes of playing golf, but he's looking to go through an approval process. That'd be pretty a cool story.
That's kind of funny.
10, 12 plus year veteran of the NBA now is playing golf, and he has a decent golf game. Like it doesn't fit the bill. Got this guy with all these tattoos and sleeves. Yeah, he has a nice. I mean, you watch him play; he can play a little bit. Pretty cool.
That is funny, man. That would be hilarious, though. He's got his eligibility, man.
Yeah,
he's got his years.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. You're in your 30s. I don't know how that works, but it's pretty neat story to follow.
Ross said he saw the highlight videos from Bloomington South. Yep. Let's see. Charlie is consistently bad, but better than me. No, he's not consistently bad. What are you talking about? That's like bogey golf, man.
But I take that because it's not like I was playing since I was like 10 or 11, right? I mean, I used to play and I wonder if I played left-handed because my dad played left-handed, but I never seen him play. He would just go hit at the local park, and he had wood clubs.
Yeah.
He had real woods, like I'm talking about real mallets, right? So, and I would say consistently about the last 5 years, I've been attempting to play. So, but like over the last year and a half, I've been playing a lot more. So, and I'm gonna take that being bad because you gotta be bad before you're good. So
that's right, man.
Yeah, I get back on this call about a year from now, and I'm in.
I can tell you right now, it's not bad. Yeah, it's not going to be a year, I don't think.
I'm going to say, put that clip back up, and let's run it back.
Scratch.
Play 10 a hole. Let's see what happens.
I can barely scratch the surface is all I can do.
That's funny.
Wyatt's on this morning as well. Saw him a minute ago. Thank you, sir. How's school going, man? He's I think, at IU. He's a student at IU, right, Wyatt? Aren't you a student at IU?
It's a new stadium. What's the new stadium?
Well, I think he's referring to the
Bloomington South, or
he can't be. No, not South, because maybe their field, but their stadium's not new. Maybe he was talking about that Irish football thing we were talking about.
Got it.
In
Ireland
to go.
Mm-hmm.
Already put that up, but yeah. And he had asked a question before, but didn't get a reply. Charlie, what sport or career would you have gotten into if you did not play college basketball?
Baseball. I'm gonna tell you right now, I should have stuck with baseball.
Really?
Yes. And I say stuck, but not saying you become like a Deion Sanders, but baseball was my love. Like I was really good at baseball. Like when you talking about Little League All-Star stuff. I mean, when I was 11, I went to Mexico City and played an All-Star game. Now, didn't know it, didn't realize it. And I think I talked about this. Brian Greasy was the quarterback at the University of Michigan. He was a teammate of mine. We played baseball together in Miami. And think about, again, the novelty of that, knowing that Bob Greasy would always be around.
Really?
And this is kind of like right after, his heyday as the Miami Dolphins quarterback, and guys, he got replaced. It wasn't Marino, or it was a couple of quarterbacks before that, and then Marino came. But anyway, yeah, baseball. Baseball was a fun sport and cool story. I was in the gym working on a player, and he was shooting the basketball, and he was turning his right hand outward. And I was like, man, it's like you're throwing a slider. And he started smiling. He's like, how you know about sliders? Like, dude, I play baseball. I didn't know that. And I started breaking out all kind of pitches, knuckleballs, two-seam fastballs. I was showing them, with the basketball, and that's kind of how a lot of the technique I teach on shooting is like anything. You have to shoot in straight lines. That's really the key objective result. And shooting the jump shot, you got to be consistent at shooting in straight lines. Just like a pitch. It's not much about throwing strikes. I got outfielders. I got infielders. Throw the ball, let them hit it. Let everybody else, participate on defense.
Man, your teaching could go to baseball as well as basketball.
And you said something, and I say this in sincerity. I say this in humility. I've learned to really have what I call timeless universal principles that are across the board. I don't care if it's football. Like one of the things I say, just like any sport, you want to play low and compact, right? And it's like a low man win sport, all sports. Like I say low and compact like a quarterback. A quarterback is in a quarter stance, right? And that's the stance you want to start. That's like an alertness stance. It's a readiness stance. You want to stay in a stance because you never know when you have to be called on a shoot, pass, dribble, whatever it might be. That's a linebacker stance. It's a DB stance. That's an outfielder stance, infielder stance, shortstop stance, right? It's a player readiness stance, right? So that's kind of what I'm after. Timeless universal principles that can go across the board in any sport.
Oh, let's see. No, we're not quite at the break yet, but yeah. And it's so funny how certain principles transcend sports. It doesn't matter. It's just about whether it's a technique or it's about a principle or whatever the case is. And there are lines that they just cross. There are certain things that cross all thresholds, and they're just basic fundamentals in those. And they're not. I don't know. I'm not. What are some of those examples of basic principles that just transcend all sports?
Well, you just said it, and we don't. One of the things that we don't think about. I feel I'm an example. You are an example as well. You're an example. I'm an example of those principles being timeless because I'm on this show based upon me playing at IU. However, you may have saw something in me that, he may seem as a good fit, talk about basketball, whatever it might be. But that's the timeless principle, character. Character. That you're after become. It's like what Matthew McConaughey, he said this. He said, someone asked him when he was 15, he said, who are you chasing? He said, who's your hero? He said, me 15 years from now. I'm never going to catch that person, but I'm chasing me and the things that I want to do. So when he became an actor and all the awards started winning, that's a persona he was chasing. He's never going to catch that perfect actor, but if he can embody what that character is about, he's going to get close to it. And to me, he has commercials. He's representing energy companies, whatever it might be. That to me is a timeless universal principle, right? It's embodying the characteristics of what it takes to be a champion, right? It's a championship mindset. Win, lose, draw, whatever career you have, those principles transcend all sports because it was all about for life. It was all for life, being a good person. I always say before you become an elite athlete, you got to become a complete person. That's what it's about, man. It's simply what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you set the bar.
There you go.
Always raising the bar so that you can never reach it.
Never
reach it, then your goals continue to go up.
Man, you just said it, and it's becoming exceptional to the rule. Don't become the rule, become an exception. You push it. They have to change. Shaq, NBA changed the way you play defense because of Shaq. The NBA changed the way you guarded on defense because of Allen Iverson. Those guys pushed the envelope of what it meant to be a professional player, and the game changed. Steph Curry has pushed the envelope on what a three-point shot is. I mean, seriously, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, like you said earlier, being like the traditional people, tradition is meant to be broken. What is tradition? It's meant to be stretched, right? It goes way beyond an imagination. So,
Zach Osterman's going to join us later in the show. Jim Reamer as well. We've got plenty to get to. I hope your weekend was great. Mine was relaxing, I guess.
Yeah,
it was hot. Man, it was so hot up here, Charlie. It's in the 90s. It's going to be in the 90s all week. Mm-hmm. That's just, there's nothing to talk about there. But we got more to coming up here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio. We're back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
Gee whiz, 93 today, 95 tomorrow, 95 on Wednesday, 95 on Thursday, 93 on Friday, 93 on Saturday. It's 90s all week.
We're in the dog days now.
Yeah, I was saying enjoy that because I got to imagine about a month and a half from now, you'd be like, it's 60, it's 50, it's 40.
I'll take that any day over the 90s.
I hear that. True.
I'll take 30 over 90.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's caveman, John. Let me get some coffee. That's caveman right there, man.
How was your weekend, Charlie?
He went to go get coffee, I think.
Oh, I wish I could drink coffee.
Is that bad for your ulcer?
I won't drink anything right now.
Oh.
I would say coffee would be, caffeine, all that. Ugh. Gosh, dang it. It came out of nowhere, too. This one's a new one.
Man.
I mean, this in a morning, had it at night, middle of the night, afternoon, and now early in the morning. Just so it doesn't matter anytime.
All right, we got 10 seconds.
$70 a month. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Charlie Miller with us. As always, it is a hot one. I don't think it matters where you are. What's it going to be like down there, Charlie?
Man, I don't know. I know it's pretty hot outside, but that's one thing about basketball. You're inside the gym. At least I know in the gym I go to all the time. It's about 74.
How about the PGA the PGA will finish today because they had the foresight to cancel the yesterday's round because they knew the weather was. They said on Saturday they said no golf on Sunday. We're canceling it because of the weather that's coming. They're going to go ahead and move it to Monday, which is today.
Wow.
Never seen that before in golf.
Yeah. I mean, you got to pay attention. That stuff matters, man. It matters a great deal. I can't, and I've done it, right? I mean, again, at that level, so a ball game, but when it's near 100 degrees, you're out there trying to play. That's a whole other world, even for fans.
Yeah. let's see, when was it I won? Oh, that was last Thursday. I won golf with Rusty, or my good friend Rusty. He said, give me some milk for that ulcer. Actually, I found out that's bad for ulcers, milk. Everybody used to think you're supposed to do that, but you're not. Need to get a Keurig. I got one, man. For the one, do you have the one with one drops, or do you make coffee, Charlie? Do you just make it one at a time, or you make?
Yeah, so I got the drip coffee. I mean, got a little, less than $20 drip coffee, and then but I also I'm a fan of like lattes. So Amazon has everything, so I got me like a latte machine. And I like to make those. They just take all 7 to 9 minutes. They said take too long sometimes. But I'm a fan of those. So, yeah.
I've got a Keurig, but it's the Keurig View, which came out, was supposed to be the new thing, was going to be the new deal.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't, and it wasn't. But it's a different stinking size than the K cups.
Yeah.
So I had to save. I actually finally bought off Amazon, but just a filter that I had to drop into it, the same size that, but it's not. So I use a Keurig bat to dump it in there every time myself, which is big because I buy my own coffee that way. So
yeah. I mean, there was a fad at one point in time. Keurig, you had to get a Keurig and K cups, and the replacement. So I'm like, okay, now I can just get a drip coffee. I'm good.
Ross said Carson Wentz on the field, dropping back and throwing is a good sign. Yeah, he's out of practice. Talked about week 1 coming back. It's so funny, Charlie. I was talking about Carson Wentz was expected to be out longer. All of a sudden, his potential backups started looking good. And it's funny how that heals you up much quicker when in the NFL when the backups are looking good. Because, man, no job is secure.
Oh man, especially at that quarterback position. I mean, think about how great Cam Newton was for the Panthers for so many years, and now, he's fighting for his playing time, starting position, and I can't even imagine just what a player like a Cam Newton, Carson Wentz, what you go through from being at the heights, at going to Super Bowls, and now all of a sudden you go to almost obscurity and people question, do you even belong? So I know I just can't imagine mentally what those guys go through.
Yeah. And then, I was talking about the PGA. Can you imagine you play 3 straight days, then you have to take a day off and come back and play again? I mean, I'm sure they've had to do that because of weather elements before, but to know that in your mind, that's a different frame of mind you got to get in. You got to get out because those guys, and I know that there are people say, oh, they're just playing golf.
No.
I don't care. Dude, the mental stress on those guys to hit those perfect shots time after time that it takes for you to focus on that shot time after time, trust me, it is way tougher than you think.
Well,
and so to get out of that and then to have to get back into that championship caliber has got to be tough.
We're playing golf leisurely. They're playing golf for their life. They have sponsors. They have things they have to do, places they have to be. That can throw off. Think about that, right? That can throw off your whole week, the following week, because you have to extend out another day of being somewhere that you didn't think about you had to be at. And if you are, placement's huge, right? So playing consistent is also, important. So we can. It's easy to play couch, I guess quarterback, on the couch a day playing golf casually, but now that's a whole nother world, man. With millions of dollars on stake every time you play. Yeah, I can't imagine that. That's tough.
Has high school football gotten underway down there in Texas?
I believe this week. I don't really follow it much, but there's players I played obviously that I coach in high school. And I believe it start this week. I believe it start this week. So I know school just started here a couple of weeks ago, and who knows, because of COVID, things got delayed. But I'm hearing about scrimmages. But I think this week high school football starts.
That's something that is huge. You talk about basketball in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I think that high school football in Texas
Yes,
is
it's
an
big.
equivalent to
Yeah.
that. It is just a very, very big thing. But
Yeah.
most people do know that. But you've got some schools that have some really big stadiums down there.
Well, and think about it. I mean, you're in the area. You have in the region. You say the Oklahoma Sooners, the University of Texas in Austin is 2-3 hours away, max. The Big 12 schools, right? So they have good pickings in this Dallas, this regional Dallas Fort Worth area as far as players. And it's growing on the basketball side too. If you look out now, we're talking about anomalies in a sense, but Cade Cunningham, the #1 draft pick, he's out of the Dallas Fort Worth area. Tyrese Maxey, I think he was a top 10 pick a year ago out of the Dallas Fort Worth area. So basketball is also something that's pretty prominent around the country as well here in Dallas, Texas area.
Let's see. Cathedral opened up with a win, 14-0 over Westfield. Defending state champion Center Grove did the same, beating Warren Central 38-14. Let's see some other scores. Danville over Franklin 2013 over the weekend. Brebeuf Jesuit 24-19 over Bishop Chatard. Some indie scores. Decatur Central beat New Pal 31-29 in a close one. Let's see. Mooresville beats Lebanon 35-7. Fishers over North Central 27-7. And Western Boone 55-13 over Sheridan. Plainfield over Greenfield Central 21-14. Just love seeing the scores. It's here, man.
That's good stuff.
Going out there, the stadium was full at Bloomington South when I went out for that game. New Albany brought a good contingent, but Bloomington South had a full stadium over there. It was fun to see the people out and the players out and the players coming off the field at halftime. It was just fun to be in that environment and to see that out and about again.
That's something that we can take for granted, man. You realize, man, that the crowd, the fans, the differences, that's huge. And the tailgating probably before, hanging out, and being present at those games, man, and watching those young men play. I know everybody's probably excited about that.
There's a question about the Jalen Hood-Schifino's commitment tomorrow. I don't know. I'll check and find out what time. That is a good question. I was wanting to find out anyway. But I don't know at this moment, but I'll get that answer and try to get that out. But all things I have heard is this kid right here, Charlie, is coming to Indiana. I think it looks very good for Indiana, and that's going to be a really, really good get for another good get for Mike Woodson, which I think will continue to add to the gets.
Yeah. And I heard he's a really good player. So, yeah, I mean, it's only getting better. I mean, you're starting to win on the road. You're building your future up. I mean, so sky's the limit.
Yeah, and like I said, if that's one that Indiana lands, that just helps get those rests. I mean, we've talked about great players want to play with other great players.
Yeah.
They want to be on great teams.
Yeah.
They want to be able to succeed. And I think they see what Mike Woodson is building. I think Jalen Hood-Schifino saw what he saw, and maybe the same for Noah Clowney, that they didn't see it necessarily in the Bahamas, but they got the information. The point got to them. They know what happened. They know what's going on. They can see who's doing what and who's growing already and how the team's growing already. So Mike Woodson's already sending a message. I think he's already sent a clear and clear message to recruits that what he is saying, like Tom Allen, it's straight up.
I can also see the possibility of a coach who is recruiting him, giving him an update as far as, here is exactly how we played in Bahamas. I can see you on the court with these guys gelling well. Here is what we did defensively, what you're after. Here's what we did offensively, what you're after. We can put you in position to succeed if you want to play at that next level, whatever it might be. I can see them now using that body of work, that example, also as a recruiting tool. Because, you're talking about they can hear about it, but what better people to hear about it than the people that are recruiting? That's another possibility if you think about it in that aspect as well.
Absolutely. And I think that there's probably, we don't know, but there could be communication going on.
Yeah.
Guys could be talking,
Exactly.
Which is totally legal. I mean, they could be talking to players, active players on the team.
Exactly.
Which is fine. But I'm not saying that is happening. I don't know who's friends with whom on this in this particular case, but it could be, but that's a good thing. But
that decision's already made. I mean, I think I alluded to that last week. A lot of times now this was a little different. You know, you didn't really have announcements, you know, to me back in the 90s. If you did, I mean, that was great. But that decision is already made. I think he just has this date. He's going to put it out there. There's no going back and forth. I think the schools know, hey, I'm not coming. Thank you. I think the school does know the one that he's going to. Hey, you guys are it, whatever it might be. So, you know, so there's been a celebration, trust me, at this particular time. They know who they are. And the other ones also know who they are, where he's not going. So, you know, from a former player, have your moment. Have your moment. That's great, you know. But you know, to me, it's all fanfare and media driven. Not wrong. No disrespect, but have your moment.
Today, what they're doing, all that stuff. Do you, as a player, would you have liked that? It wasn't that way then. Would you have liked to do the? Everybody's picking out the hats and doing all that business. Doing the trick. Which one's the?
Yeah. All whatever, the Instagram post or the whole story, I've seen it all. I've seen like the docuseries.
Videos.
Yeah. I was too modest, man. I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, like if I take myself back when I was 17 and I made that choice, it was I remember that choice. I made that choice around it was right before basketball season. So it was October, November for me. I made that choice as I was a late, because I had to pass my SAT test, but I was a late signee, kind of post summer going into my senior year, and I just made that choice to go to IU. I don't know. I mean, for me, now that was also back to Bullish. That wasn't really common. That really wasn't common. So I don't know. Might have got on the bandwagon. And I don't take it away from these. I don't take it away because that's where it's commonplace. Even I think we talked about this before. It's funny. It's funny to me how you'll see a player in like IU garb in the locker room, and as a recruit, and they take these pictures with different uniforms on. That's pretty interesting as another way of recruiting to see yourself in those uniforms. So I don't know.
I'm just reading this funny story right now from Saturday Down South, a part of Saturday Tradition, who Dustin Schutte is a part of that joins us. Jaleel Tucker's big moment. He finally reached the end of the recruiting process. He's ready to announce his college decision, which school this big 4-star athlete's going to. He goes to Lincoln High School in San Diego. He was preparing to choose between Oregon, Washington, and Florida State, surrounded by his family members at the announcement ceremony. And before revealing his choice, a reporter from a news station wanted to interview his dad about the big day. I'm happy for him. He's a good kid, Tucker told reporters.
Yeah.
Lazy, but a good kid. And I know he's going to represent Oregon well.
Right.
Well, this was before the kid made the announcement, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, or have you seen the one? Again, John, if you can find this video, it's pretty cool. The kid, his mom wants him to go to forget what school.
Yes, she got P.O.
She got up and walked out.
Wasn't it Florida or something?
Yeah, he chose. Yeah, so she wanted him to go to somewhere, and he chose. I guess he surprised her at the news conference, and she got up and walked out. Now, nothing against that family. Mom, that's not your choice. That's the kid's opportunity. That's his opportunity, not yours. But that's, neither here nor there. But that was, John, if you can find that clip, that'd be an awesome clip to play. It'd be like no more than like 30, 40 seconds.
I found it, but I need to get it downloaded. We can play at the beginning of the next segment.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That's about as bad a way as you can react to a kid's decision. Because right now, because of what we're about to do, we're going to show this again. And 5 years from now, someone's going to show it again because they're going to say, "Hey, this is what not to do."
This is what
she's going to forever be the parent showing of what not to do as a parent.
Exactly. Like, and who knows? I'm hoping the kid is playing wherever he's playing or he whatever. But like that now sets. What just hit my mind, Jim, was almost like you bring home a young man, young woman, and your parents just what? It just no.
Yeah, no. You bring a girl in the door. Dad, I want to introduce you to my daughter.
Yeah, just walks out. You're like, whoa.
That would be horrible, man.
Like, it's just like, walk out. Like,
I told you not to go out with that girl. Exactly. She's too ugly, man. I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, man, what are you doing? You got higher or lower standards. I don't know, but like that's the equivalency of me. You just walked out on this guy, man.
That is hilarious. I'm trying to find out the story of the Lands kid decommitting. Man,
let's go and take a quick break.
Rams. Yeah, that's a big loss, man. Kamari Lands decommits from Syracuse. That wants NIL coming into play. Well, I don't understand how he can't get NIL. Just is Syracuse that far behind that they're not involved in it? And if that's the case, that's maybe a school like Indiana who's ahead of the game. From helping the students achieve that. Because I just saw someone also put up that Merchants Bank.
This guy TJ,
David signed an NIL deal. I mean, Merchants Bank, that's not a local bank. So what I'm thinking, they're thinking NBA dollars one day and boom.
Yeah. I think John said it might be a good time for a break. I don't know.
That's right. I get talking, I forget. Let's do that. When we come back, Jim Reamer will be with us as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans.
Hey, I've got that clip ready to go right when we come back if you want to go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's interesting? I saw that with TJD. I saw that he signed. It's interesting how, I wonder, like, the mind state of these young players who have that opportunity amongst your teammates who don't have like an NIL deal. I wonder how that's going to kind of play out. I mean, it's all new. And I don't think anybody's going to hate on them, but like, it's just interesting to know this guy's endorsed and be making X amount of dollars, possibly, or whatever it might be, versus someone who could be struggling.
Maybe Jim Boeheim doesn't want to fool with it.
Well, we've written, at least on the forums, written a lot about that aspect of it. I doubt it would come from the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it would come from the players.
Right.
It would come from those around them.
Exactly.
And it would likely more manifest itself in. It would start with. My guess is it would start with the coaches aren't doing enough for you.
Right.
Rather than personal jealousy over.
Right.
And that we're going to see a lot of shifts. We're going to see a lot of changes on coaching staffs. I mean, I know IU has that committee or that group that is going to help foster some of these relationships, but we're going to see coaching staffs, if they haven't already started to do that, hire people to be a direct liaison to that type of to those types of relationships too.
Well,
even if it's
Indiana has that already.
No, even if it's a relationship between the men's program and then this committee or this group, you know what I mean? There'll be somebody on staff that wants to deal with it because look, none of these assistants want to deal with it directly. None of the Dobo doesn't want to deal with it directly. how many of these managers are qualified to do something like that? I don't know, but you're talking about hiring actually maybe even just a business professional.
I was gonna say a business manager. I mean, it's really what you're talking about, right? I mean,
that's basically,
and that's basically what agents have, right? Agents have business managers that help agents to quarterback on the account, and they have the business manager to help with the endorsement deals and all that stuff. So I can definitely see them hiring somebody like that, like you just said.
Absolutely, yeah. I see that no different than when they started hiring analytics guys and guys who are just there because of their data brain,
right. Yeah,
who happen to also be avid basketball fans. And
correct.
All right, we got 10 seconds.
Who's to go with? Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Charlie Miller with us as always. Jim Reamer joined here as the weekend wrapped up. Not a lot of basketball going on right now, but we got some commitments coming. Jalen Hood-Schifino, we were just talking about him a little bit ago, Jim. His commitment announcement in 2 days, and all things are pointing towards Bloomington for that young man, which is a good sign. Noah Clowney has also put Indiana in his Final Four. So, again, more good signs for Indiana. But the Schifino, that one looks pretty secure right now.
I thought it was interesting when the overtime elite offer came out that it was, at least from what I read, was reported then separately that the parents said no, it's between Indiana and Tennessee, that they aren't even considering that overtime elite offer. Did I read that correctly?
I don't know. I didn't see that, but that would be very interesting if it did, because that's a blow to them.
He did get the offer.
He did.
He did get the offer. They didn't. Now, no one cited the amount. We broke this down on our podcast that we recorded last night and I haven't published it yet. Again, when you start talking about tax implications and I mean, how much of these guys really going to get paid to bypass college and to bypass what is now this NIL policy, that
the college life and the college experience?
Absolutely.
And maybe the teachers that they prefer them go to. And I'm talking about teachers like Mike Woodson.
So, we've got an Indiana kid that got an offer, Miles Colvin, who's already committed to Purdue. The reported offer was $250,000. I assume that's $250,000 a year. What is that taxed at 40% right out the gate? Is that high enough, Charlie?
I think.
Well,
did you ever make that much? Did you? Yeah, you made some of that.
Yeah, well, here it is, right? Now, think about this. They may not be, now, I don't know. They just may say you have to deal with the taxes.
That's what I'm saying. So right away, exactly. Miles, whoever's handling his finances, presumably his dad or whoever's handling his dad's finances. Right. And Colvin's a kid that I don't think has financial issues. His dad had an outstanding NFL career. Mm-hmm. Presumably don't need the money, certainly don't need the money to survive. But here's a kid that, cool, $250,000, and everybody's in his ear. I say everybody, I'm talking like on social media.
I got you.
Like that. Go get that money.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Now my Siri's popping up here trying to record everything. But right out of the gate, it's 40% taxed, right? Is that the level? Or is that, even if it's maybe just 35% tax? So what my point is, it's not really $250,000. Well, it's more like 140, 150, or 150, 160. Presuming then you don't spend any of it.
I was gonna say this. So say 40%, right? That's another. Say 40 grand.
That's $100,000 off.
Okay, now ready? Okay, now you got to get somebody to manage that.
Right.
Right. So that's another 10, 20 grand. Somebody's watching your money.
Yeah, right? You'd assume in the Colvin's case it would be.
They got people. Well, if he has,
right.
You probably got people. You're going to pay somebody.
Correct.
Right? So then they're going to tell you got to put that money up. you might want to be smart with it. Probably do your 50-30-20 rule. Put up half. Spend 30, save, invest 20. I don't know.
Right.
Man, that's now all of a sudden, that's good to have that, but now you've thrown off your opportunity to really experience what it's like to play in college. And
correct, and that's where I go with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you on that. So is it
once
worth,
this league
yes.
once this league either folds,
yes,
or moves, say it's successful and it's basically absorbed into the NBA as some sort of developmental league, which Mark Cuban has spoken a lot about being in favor of at a club level, not necessarily at a league level.
Right.
Once this goes away, let's say, I mean, I've always presumed they're well-intentioned and at worst just wanting a return on their investment, which that's once this thing, if they get to the point where they don't see their return on their investment and it does go away, these kids are going to be left without the opportunity to play in college. And how many of these kids are really going to make enough money for that to pay for a full college education? I mean, what's a full college education cost on a yearly basis? $50,000?
50, yeah, 60.
That's public, right? That's
and
I mean, you're counting housing and food, and if you're a commuter, you're even counting gas.
Jim, but you also are also you're being very lenient in the sense of, do these kids even want to consider going to college?
Well, that's true.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but like the thought process, I can only imagine, been there before, is what do I need at school for? I can go overseas and make X amount. It's a little more complicated now.
Maybe. Yeah,
but that thought process is, everybody's probably thinking, if I got this, if I keep getting better, I got the G League, I got all these leagues I can play in to make ends meet or whatever it might be. Like, I think they're not thinking mid to long term opportunities.
I know they need to be. I mean, I've had two kids recently that I've coached play anywhere right at 10 years overseas to now bordering on 10 years overseas.
Right.
And one of them is retired.
Right.
And he absolutely positively is happy that he has his college degree.
Right.
Absolutely positively. He stayed long enough. I mean, he got a sniff at the NBA. That was about it. And the other one is still playing. And I'm sure when he gets done, he'll have a chance to fall back on his college degree.
Right.
Even if it's just someone hiring him with the knowledge that he's got one.
Right. Right.
And I don't know. I guess that's my concern is on paper, $250,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you chop off 40% right away, $150,000 still sounds like a lot of money. But when you're talking about what your opportunity cost is there, it's not change your life money. It's really kind of just change your year money, isn't it?
Well, right. I mean, I'm not. No, please, people understand what I'm saying.
Change your life for the
next 15. No, I'm breaking it down. $15,000 a month. It's 18. That's a lot.
It is,
but
it's not a lot.
You are living, and you think it's just extravagant, and you're just spending, and you want to make it rain, and you want to go hang out. All of a sudden, it's like, where did I spend all this money? You want to go buy the luxury lines, the Gucci's, the Chanel's, and you want to be at everything you have that pops. All of a sudden, and
if that's the peak of what you make, and your career lasts, that's the peak of what you make, and your career lasts. Look, my guy played in Turkey and Greece for 10 years. Those are good 6-figure leagues.
Yep.
He was retired by 28.
Yeah.
And successful in his final year. He just decided it was time.
He made the right choice. He got out because the dollars over in Europe dried up when they allowed more imports to play. It was used to be two foreigners a team.
Right.
Budget was great. Now you got almost a whole team of foreigners, so budgets weren't the same. This happened around 2000-ish. So if he did well, 6 figures, That's awesome for him because a lot of other countries, their budgets dropped tremendously because they could.
And Charlie, you're old enough. Not that we're excluding Jim, but it looks like Jim's working on things while you and I are going back and forth. You're old enough, Charlie, that I know. I'm just saying I don't want to act like we're leaving Jim out. It's his show.
Right.
You're old enough, Charlie, that you remember how unpopular it was when Patrick Ewing said we make a lot, but we spend a lot.
Exactly.
During the NBA strike or lockout or whatever that was.
That was 98.
And the reality was he's right.
That's 98.
You know, they do spend a lot. You get used to a lifestyle. And if the peak of what you earn is earned from the time, most people, the peak of what they earn isn't when they're 18 to 28.
Correct.
Or in this case, maybe 16 to 28.
Correct.
The peak of what you earn is what, 30 to 45 or 50 maybe, depending on the job.
Exactly. And again, you're young.
You're much closer to right.
You got it all, right? So you're not thinking about those things. And it's almost the peer pressure of that. I mean, I remember a story, and I'm not going to put his name out there, but I had a teammate who got drafted. You could probably do the math. Got drafted. I remember the story. Got drafted, came back in the locker room. He drove a modest truck.
Right.
He went to his team with that same modest truck, and they told him, you better get rid of that crap and go get you another car. We don't want you. And so what did he do? He went and got a red Mercedes AMG because of the peer pressure. Now, not saying I don't know if they were joking or not, but they were like, man, why are you driving that? What are you doing? And he said the very next day, he went and got a Mercedes Benz. Now,
Jared Jeffries.
No.
No. Oh, you did.
Jared Jeffries couldn't fit in a Mercedes AMC.
I didn't play with Jared.
Well, I always thought he drove an old clunker.
Well, yeah. So it was another
by choice. No, by choice.
Taller player that would play with me, and I'm not gonna put his name out there, but
that's fine.
But
I know Jared. So I'm okay.
But that pressure, But that pressure, I can only imagine that pressure at that level. Like nothing against it. Who cares?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's look at the kid who just got signed by the Rockets, and what do Jalen Green?
Yeah.
And then all over the internet, they're talking about the grill, the teeth with the diamonds in it he bought. Who knows how much it costs? But like that becomes a splash thing. This is weeks after he's been drafted. You're going to play with money. It is what it is. I mean, I'm sorry. They're going to do that, right? Not saying they're going to regret it, but they're going to do that.
I closed an estate and spent 2 years sponsoring my own basketball team and threw a bunch of money and then realized I couldn't keep doing that,
Understood. That's right.
That's where, that's why
I'm with you.
I can't do that because it's, it wasn't.
I'm with you, man. Yeah. So, but you're right. I mean, just, to kind of close the loop, but, that 250 is not 250, man. I mean, and I'm hoping he knows that. And you got to really think about that because you got to think about also the volatile of that league you've been making and continuing. So, I mean, I'm hoping that they're thinking about their future. Not saying they got to be guinea pigs, but, take a risk. But, they're look at your opportunities.
They're guinea pigs.
Yeah.
They're definitely, I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, it's,
right.
It's a metaphor, but it's
True.
very much guinea pigs.
The Big Ten released their COVID protocol for games. Someone mentioned it, but I was reading it over here a minute ago. If a team cannot play in a contest because of COVID-related issues, they will forfeit those games this year now. No makeups. And if both are, it would be a no contest. But if there's another reason to keep your players healthy, because now it will hurt you, especially in football. I mean, it'd be hard to get, I guess it maybe not get a whole team wiped out, but
my God, man.
What if Ohio State needs a week off? Do they get
that worked for them last year, but I think
did it not? Yeah. I mean, rules are
last year, but I think Warren, Commissioner Alvarez and Kevin Warren have found out that probably won't work this year. now that you have Commissioner Alvarez in helping out Kevin Warren.
Yeah, well, that was BS.
But that's where that goes. But it won't be the case this year. So, if you've got a player, a quarterback, just a quarterback, it could be one guy though, one guy that can't play that could really impact a football season for some of these teams. So, or basketball. It doesn't matter what sport it is. Volleyball. It doesn't matter.
I think it really now you got to really put in consideration how do you get reps for like your second string guys or, bad enough just with really the just standard of play. You got to, open yourself up to injury, right? Career, season ending or, a couple weeks out. Now you have to deal with the pandemic. So, you get a marquee player that's used to getting snaps or any sport, you get a lot of possession scoring basketball. Just wow. That throws a loop. That throws a big time loop into how you approach week in, week out games.
Well, not to get too far down the rabbit hole,
right.
But the FDA just approved the Pfizer vaccine. Like it just came across within the last hour. At least that's what it was reported as. So people who have legitimately used that as a concern, that has been that barrier has been crossed up to this point. So we'll see. Hopefully, we'll see some of the athletes who have been outspoken about why is it not fully approved. And these are professional athletes, not college athletes.
Right.
Lamar Jackson being the biggest one, I think, is why do I want to take a chance on something when it's not been fully approved? I don't want to be subjected to this.
Right.
I don't even think he said it that far, but he has.
Right.
He has talked about it, the full approval process. So at least one of them came across today as fully approved. So hopefully, get the remaining. What is it? IU football was noted at 75%,
90%.
Oh, it's 90%.
Yeah,
good. Oh no, it was the Colts. I'm sorry, my fault. It was the Colts.
Were like a little over 50. I thought
it was reported yesterday. Well, it was reported on Twitter yesterday, and I don't remember who did it, but I took it as reliable that it was 75% now. So I would hate to have to look at Ron Rivera every week, knowing that he's immunocompromised and want to know why you didn't get it. But that's just because I'm pro-vaccine. So like I said, I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole.
Osterman's going to join us from the Star. Let's get out of here and get back so we can do that with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for...
Man, we're going to have a full house in here today.
I know that. Should have saved Zach for another day.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that.
I got to find out. Ask him what's the best day for him.
Yeah, I'll ask him afterward if he wants to do maybe Wednesday or Friday.
Because don't forget, again, Fisher is going to start in a...
Yep. So that would, imagine if we had him and Don Fisher on as well today with Charlie and Jim Reamer already here.
Not showing up. I could be in bed right now.
I'm pretty pliable, although I'm pretty much home every Monday. So,
Zachary, how are you, sir?
Hey, how we doing?
Got a full house today.
Goodness.
How's the little one?
Oh, he's terrible.
eBay, man. eBay.
Yeah. Little bastard. That's good.
People can see this YouTube feed now.
Well,
I can tell you, I've had a couple of friends who are like, we still see what you do when they're off the air, and I'm like, oh, great.
And off the air on radio doesn't mean off the air on YouTube.
Oh, correct.
No, he's kidding.
Well, he's.
I know. I'm just having fun with Jim Reamer.
I like your kid. It's your love for Atlanta that I don't particularly care for.
How about those Braves, man? I'm gonna say that. Son of a bitch. And how about those Mets? Those worthless.
Rest of the East should be ashamed. Should honestly just be ashamed. I mean, it's absurd how how easily a broken Braves team has just kind of risen back up the division. But I'll take it. I'm not giving it back.
They're a game behind the Reds, though, but they're in the lead their division. So I guess.
Yeah, I mean they're in a terrible division, so I wouldn't worry about the wild card. That's how you're either getting in by the division or not. So
I'm pleased. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't really follow baseball anymore to the point where I know what to expect. I just kind of start watching once AAU's over. So once we get through July, I start watching baseball a little more, and I'm glad the Reds are in contention. So,
all right, time to come back in.
Just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Jim Reamer with us, Charlie Miller, and then we're joined by Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Zach, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Jim?
Well, good. I did not expect the first thing to talk about, though, is the Atlanta Braves. And damn it, the Atlanta Braves are in first place in the National League East. And the Mets, I don't care about the Mets. Kevin Brockway will, and I'll talk to him tomorrow. But they have sunk like a rock in a lake, man. They're like 7.5 games back. They were leading that division not that long ago, and they have they're terrible.
Well, I'm not going to complain. The Mets can just keep sinking for all I care. The Braves weren't above 500 and like once for a day this season until about 3 weeks ago.
That's crazy.
But they got right around the trade deadline. The pitching's gotten a lot better, and they won 9 in a row now. All of them, I think, were kind of against teams well below 500, but 9 in a row is 9 in a row, and that's kind of vaulted into the top of the division here.
The Reds are holding on to a playoff spot right now, I think, over the Padres. Yep. But baseball got interesting all of a sudden. It's fun for baseball to be interesting again. But man, yeah, those Braves, boy, they just shot up. Zach's a big Braves fan from Atlanta. I knew that, so I wanted to keep him on that. And we'll get on Brockway tomorrow with his stinking Mets. Boy, man, they have dropped like a rock. But what else has been going on with you? I know we're expecting a decision from Jalen Hood-Schifino here on what is today, the 22nd. So no, tomorrow. So that drops tomorrow. All things seem to be pointing towards Indiana. The crystal balls, a lot of those are pointing in that direction. Nothing's ever done until it's done, but it looks good for Indiana right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. And, my read is kind of similar to yours without having, any sort of wealth of inside knowledge. It seems like things have kind of trended in a really good direction for Indiana. The things that Jalen Hood-Schifino has said publicly about his relationship with IU, what it is about IU that appeals to him, just kind of the direction of travel in that recruitment. Obviously there's kind of these new layers around name, image, and likeness. And, I think there's sort of a conventional wisdom that's held that, once a player narrows his list to X schools or cuts, Y schools out of the process, that's kind of it. And that when he's ready to make his decision, basically he has most or all of his information, and it's just about sifting through it to make his decision. Well, NIL probably changes some of that. NIL probably leaves a big piece on the table that can stay really fluid. But, we've seen Indiana try to be as aggressive about that as some other schools. And I think everybody's still trying to figure out, as being a big fish in a small town, better than having access to a larger media market and, those kinds of things for, your most talented college players. But, sitting here probably a little over 24 hours from the announcement, it does feel like Indiana is at very least probably done just about everything it could do with Jalen Hood-Schifino to get him in the fold.
and Indiana has done a great job of getting out in front of it they've got people in place. And I think that has paid great dividends once they talk to parents, once they talk to the kids, and they see they're like, wow, they're taking this real seriously. So I think that is what maybe put them ahead of the deal that they got from the overtime league. But the overtime league, I just don't see, and we've all talked about this, I don't see how that thing survives. It doesn't have more than a team yet. So I don't know how they're going to develop a league, but that aside, NIL is also not their friend. So their idea was maybe good. That's at the wrong time, but I don't see how the overtime league will really survive.
Yeah, I'll defer to Jim Reamer on all this. No, I mean,
Zach leads Twitter in mentions, replies to mentions via DMs. Is where that goes.
I like to air my laundry in private. What can I say? Which is to say, I like to not get in trouble in public.
Yeah, that's true. It's easier when I don't really have a boss on big
Charlie,
big
and
items.
From a player standpoint, the NIL deal versus something like the overtime league, the NIL allows you to go to college, to get the college experience, to just to be a normal student, which I don't know if that's some of them. Maybe they're not looking for that, but there are avenues. It seems like there's enough avenues for everybody to go now.
Yeah, again, I think it depends on the family and the player. What are you after? Are you going to be like a LaMelo Ball and say, what is college? Or are you going to say, hey, look, I want to experience the 4 years or whatever many years you might spend there before you go on to a next level if you have that opportunity to play in the NBA or whatever it might be. So I think it's all interesting. You said something I never thought about, Jim, the timing of that league. Thinking about that now when you allow the NIL to come and play. Now the timing of these inaugural type leagues like that, they're looking at getting perennial all-star players out of high school to come play. Will that throw in a conflict of interest now? To say I keep my eligibility, I can go play in college and also have the same opportunity.
Right. Well, my one concern just overall, and this even goes to the NBA allowing guys to come straight out of high school, is if you eliminate the need to be eligible for college academically, then what's the motivation to even worry about your academics at the high school level?
Right.
So how far down are we drilling to the point where outstanding athletes have to even care about academics?
Yeah.
And how many of them are going to be able to just completely survive as adults from a professional standpoint, not in terms of professional being their sport, but as an adult with a job. Like, Zach has a regular job,
Right.
Charlie, I don't know fully what you do. You've carved out a regular job. I've carved out a regular job. Jim has carved out a regular. I don't know fully what Jim does either, but he's carved out a regular job. No, I know.
No one does.
And same here, but that's the point. We've been able to use what we've learned all the way through.
Yeah.
And part of that, in our case, a large part of that is college education and being able to problem solve and network and connect with people and build resources.
Well, if you want to know in transparency, I've been doing this for 11 years, right? So 11 years as a player development coach. But I would say there was definitely a time as a player where I totally disrespected having a degree when didn't really pay, as a player, didn't really respect that opportunity because you're thinking you're going to play professional basketball, whatever you're going to do for a long time. When the opportunity is taken away from you, it's like a now what? Right. When you don't have, say, relevant skills. So I think that's something that you got to think about. And what is regular to players like that in a sense, right?
And you probably did it because maybe you were compelled to. Look, we can go through intrinsic and extrinsic motivations.
Right.
All as a sideshow, or as a side discussion, but
right.
But again, a lot of that in high school, some of these kids, I mean, I know really good kids who are good students who really just do it because their parents make them. They don't want to get grounded or they.
And that's kind of where I'm going at. I mean, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
With you. I'm being honest. Like a lot of, I mean, unfortunately, I can't speak for everybody. Me, Charlie, I know I did not respect school as a player. I know I did. Because you got this limelight idea of you're going to go do this thing forever. And now I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just telling you the honest side of it. And I can only imagine now with the dollars and all the opportunities that exist, it's probably tough. People are probably just going through the motions, right? I'm not saying it's true, but you may just be going through the motions because you're thinking this is an opportunity I'm going to do forever.
There's no question it's true. To what extent?
Yeah.
Remains to be seen, and we we're not into the overtime league yet, but we are into being able to go directly into the G League. Yeah, we are able to go directly into the G League. I mean, is the overtime league going to suspend a player because he's fallen behind his homework?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
So then, what's the motivation for any of those kids to do any of the work?
Yeah.
And I have similar concerns for prep schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway. Hey, Zach, a quick question. Although his mic's on mute, Zach? What was considered the bigger market, Knoxville or Bloomington adjacent to Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of another tricky one because like Knoxville is obviously substantially bigger than Bloomington. I think it's probably about 3 times larger in terms of area size, and you have local TV affiliates in Knoxville, which means you're going to have local advertising and marketing and things like that. On the other hand, Knoxville's, I think, about a little over 2 hours from Nashville. It doesn't have direct access to a market like Indianapolis the way that Bloomington does. And even to kind of go a step further, again, when you talk about kind of local access, and therefore, local advertising for local car dealerships, advertising for local event venues, whatever it might be. Bloomington doesn't have any. Bloomington not have any network affiliates because Bloomington has, other than public television, Bloomington has no local TV presence. Does that actually make Bloomington more appealing because it makes it easier to crack into a market like Indianapolis? I think these are questions that we just don't know answers to. And then I think there's been a lot of there's been a belief, for example, that Miami would be a great market for football players, and maybe it will be, but also maybe it will be a market that just kind of stays crowded and is hard to really kind of carve a hole into. And I think that when there are going to be certain classes of athletes, Olympians are an obvious example, the absolute sort of upper tier Heisman Trophy candidates, things like that, people who for one reason or another are already influencers on social media that are going to kind of be in their own category with NIL, like they're going to have their own space. The vast majority of athletes, I think these deals are going to be incredibly retail. Like they're going to be incredibly sort of like, when I say retail, I mean the relationship, not necessarily retail specifically.
Yeah. It's
going to be like, I saw Christian Lander who tweeted something out about, I think, a financial planner or a car dealer from Evansville. Well, he's from Evansville. Everyone in Evansville knows who Christian Lander is. He has this relationship with someone in Evansville, and that's an obvious sort of thing to do. Trace Jackson Davis with Merchants Bank of Indiana, stuff that is very sort of local, not necessarily stuff that is local, but I think the question is basically what defines local. And to your point,
Zach,
Zach froze. Knoxville, which might have a little bit harder time getting into, a Nashville market, or even reaching down, to a Chattanooga or someplace like that. I just don't think anybody knows yet. And I don't think there's really any way to know until we do it for a while. And until, people can become quote unquote experts in NIL, players can go through it, programs can go through it. I know that, technically schools aren't supposed to be setting these kids up with stuff, but I think we can all understand that in real life, if a kid goes to a coach and says, "Coach, what do you think?" That coach isn't going to be like, no, I can't give you my thoughts. So I think that there's so much layer and nuance to it. And I know my answer to your question is basically just, I don't know. But like,
well, yeah, but that's a good.
Really
I was curious.
It's really relevant because you can ask 10 different people and get probably 9 different opinions on that question. Basically.
I mean, we could, unless Jim has to go to a break here, but we can joke about like Purdue will swear up and down that Indianapolis is in the bag for Indiana when it comes to media coverage. I mean, the Star gets that criticism constantly, and Butler fans aren't too far off on that notion. And reality is there's a heck of a lot more Indiana grads around here than there are Butler grads, and that's just because of sheer numbers, size of the school, size of the alumni base, but obviously the Indianapolis market includes a thriving suburban area or thriving suburban areas that are massively growing, and almost to the point where we're getting pretty close to where it's 3 times the size of Marion County, the suburban base. And that's fully in the bag for Indianapolis media market, which then obviously trickles down to access for, and Purdue falls into this, and Butler falls into these categories as well, where they have this growing market here as an image or an NIL base, I guess is where I'm going with that. So I was curious when you said that, which one we thought was the bigger market, or did which school had access to the bigger market? I would have thought IU had the access to the bigger market just because the size of Indy versus the size of Knoxville, and what you said, Knoxville probably doesn't tap over into Nashville because Nashville has their own thing going.
Oh, and no, yeah, they're not. They both have
their own deal. Yeah, they can care less.
You can also go. I mean, you bring up alumni base size. I mean, like the Big Ten. One of the sort of features of Big Ten schools that we talk so much about the AAU and the Association of American Universities, not AAU basketball, but we talk about obviously football power and things like that. One of the things the Big Ten holds tight to is being big state institutions with large liberal arts and research footprints that also have enormous alumni bases. And if you go look at the largest living alumni bases, any credible list of the largest, let's say the 25 largest living alumni bases in the country will almost certainly include at least 8 or 9 Big Ten schools. Yeah. Because we're talking about enormous university systems, Indiana, Penn State, Ohio State, Nebraska, Iowa, like schools that are just huge and have satellite campuses and different things like that. And so, like, how does that affect it? As opposed to maybe competing with a school, a school that was in Jalen Hood-Schifino's, I think, Final 4 or 5, whatever it was, before he trimmed it down one more time, Memphis, which obviously has an incredibly captive market. Memphis basketball in the city of Memphis is a really big deal. You got Memphis basketball and you got the Grizzlies. And University of Memphis basketball is a huge deal in the city. But is it something that is more widely marketable beyond Memphis? Whereas if you are looking to tap into a large alumni base, a school like Indiana is probably going, if you can find an effective way to do that, and I'm not sure exactly what that is, but if you can find an effective and efficient way to tap into that kind of group, well, then that's another layer to it. And again, these are just things that, like, NIL has been the rule for 7 weeks. We just haven't had the time to figure these things out. But as we do, I think we're going to see the dynamics around it change and really kind of adapt basically to the circumstances that people need.
The one thing I'm curious about, and I got to let you go, but how is this going to affect the media and their ability to say, nah, not doing that unless I get paid, or not doing this unless I get paid, or telling the schools that, hey, I don't want to do this unless I get paid at some point. I hope it doesn't ever get there, but man, there's just a can of worms that, like you just said, we don't know until we get down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely could. I know that there are some, media outlets that have basically paid for exclusive access to athletes kind of in the last few weeks. I'm curious to see what the return on investment is in those. And I'm curious basically, like, I maybe there is a good one, but I'm just kind of curious basically to see whether or not the money that you'd have to presumably pay to get someone to agree to that, both not just for exposure purposes, but also possibly just because I think a lot of athletes wouldn't want to have to, like, every single day or every single week be like, no, I can only talk to, I think one of them was Texags down in Texas A&M. I can't honor any of these interview requests because I only speak to this person or whatever it is.
Well,
and then I think the other question there is, and I don't want to make the media out to be overly important. Like I'm very well aware that the media can sound very self-important very quickly. And I don't want to tread over that line. But I also think that, athletes, I think that there is kind of a symbiotic relationship sometimes between athletes and the media in terms of, media is free exposure. And, a story about an athlete's NIL deal is basically free advertising. A story about an athlete's background and, different things, again, is in my newspaper, you pay, I think it's something like $9.99 a month, and that's it. And, so for $10, anybody can read that story. And I think that sort of symbiotic relationship will still exist in some ways. Now, I think it could change in others. And I think basically what you could see, as much as anything else, or really what I think we are seeing, is frankly a bit of the breakdown in terms of the sort of the standard order of the media is here, the players and coaches are here, in this case, the players, because obviously NIL is a player-specific thing. And then in the middle, there is kind of this barrier of sports information directors and media relations professionals that kind of fence everything and say, well, you can talk to him, but you can't talk to him, or you can talk to her, but she doesn't want to talk about these things or whatever. I think that's going to break down a little bit more. And that doesn't necessarily just mean it's a feeding frenzy for the media. This is fantastic. It's just going to change the nature of the relationship between athletes, college athletes specifically, and the media in ways that, frankly, if we want to talk again about kind of long-term ramifications of this, for athletes that want to go pro, it's probably going to give them it's going to give them more direct exposure to the way it's going to work in the NBA or the NFL when there's open locker rooms and, open shoot-arounds, and you're speaking to the media before games and after games. And there's times when you are required by rules to be available to the media. And so I think it's probably more than anything else, it's just going to sort of change the nature of the relationship between athletes and the media. And I don't know if that's necessarily all in ways that are good for the media or bad for the media, all in ways that are good for the players or bad for the players. I think we all just we'll look back in 10 years and we'll just say, yeah, well, this just sort of seems like the way we always did it. It just becomes natural. It's just something you pick up like riding a bike.
I agree. Zach, what else you got coming and working on next for the start?
Just getting ready for the season, getting ready for football season more than anything else. Kind of wrapped up the Bahamas stuff, and I think I've lost my Irish tan here. So I start to get ready for football in Iowa, and then before long, basketball will come back around.
Absolutely. Well, looking forward to it. Look for Zach Osterman in the Indy Star. Be a subscriber. I am. Jack, thanks so much for joining us, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jim, as always.
You bet. Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star joining us on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking.
Y'all still have that clip of the mom walking out if you do want to reference it at all.
I love to see it.
That's what we can start off the new thing with.
What are we talking about?
Oh man, how this lady
it was
forever.
The player
as a parent.
Yeah, it was a mom who was on the podium with the player, and he chose to go to a school that she didn't like, so she got up out of her seat and walked out.
Is this recent? Because I've seen
this like a couple years ago, Matt.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
and we were just talking about like that decision and how was it for me? What I would have enjoyed it, stuff like that. It just wasn't something that we did back in the '90s as far as making a fanfare, I guess, event. But I was just talking about how I equated it to almost coming home with a young lady and your parents just reject. Just get up and say.
No, I'm not going to be able to play it for too long because it is a video from ESPN, and I don't want us to get a copyright claim.
All we got to see is her get up.
Do what? Yeah, once she gets up and goes, we'll turn it off.
After he says it.
Yeah. It's right at the beginning.
Don't get it. Yeah, please don't get it. Yeah, I don't want to get us in trouble.
No, we ain't going to get in trouble. It just.
Yeah. It won't. So all it does is affect, like if they were to see it, they'd be like, "Oh, you can't make money off of this video, yada yada yada." That's all it does.
Jim, I thought Zach's comments about the SID part of the interview, maybe interviewing with NIL implications. There's a guy who is messaging me, and he seems like a good guy. I'm not trying to judge him, who's talking about paying IU athletes to interview them on his podcast. And I'm curious how that impacts. I mean, I'm pretty sure like the Indianapolis Star is pretty insulated from that type of situation because of the SID and because they want to have a great relationship with, the biggest newspaper in the state. I'm curious how that trickles down and impacts maybe not just one guy doing it, but if it starts to become a little bit more, bit more common.
It's going to suck because that means blow is just going to like the hysterics. Anybody that has money can do certain things,
or is willing to ask for money to do certain things.
Yeah,
because that's what they're doing, right? They're asking people to donate to them.
Well, the one guy has money. That's the way he's able to fly around the country at will.
Yeah.
And we got 10 seconds.
Right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Jim Reamer and Charlie Miller with us, as always. And earlier in the show, we were talking about how not to be as a parent when we were talking about making your kids make their college choices now for like Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to be make tomorrow. Charlie didn't really get that chance. That wasn't a thing back in the 90s. But a few years ago, this poor kid was making his decision, and obviously his mom did not agree with it. But for those of you that are watching on YouTube Live, you can see this, and it speaks for itself.
But I like now that I'm taking my time to for the next 3 to 4 years.
His mom, it wasn't just his mom, his grandma. His grandma was
I didn't even see that. If that is grandmother.
And then his mom stood up and walked off.
She's wearing the Alabama sweatshirt, and he puts the Florida hat on.
They both had on. So again, that might have been a decision. He last minute didn't. Oh wow! And I saw grandma looked disgusted.
She looked shocked.
She almost Wow. Wow.
Oh, I mean, that's just golden. We're talking. If you're listening, obviously you couldn't see the video, but a couple of years ago, a kid, the mom and the grandma thought he was going to Alabama. They're wearing Alabama sweatshirts, and he's got the 3 hats up there, and he picks up the Florida hat and puts it on. And grandma was like, "What?" Mom just said, "No, hell, I'm out." She just reached out and picked up her pocketbook, and she was out. That was hilarious, man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
That's why you got to be careful with those events. Like the one guy who pulled the wrong hat out, but I think it was the same color. Put it on.
Oh man.
And said a different school.
Sounds like the Oscars a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they had all the YouTube videos, or maybe I don't know what platform it was, where the people reacting to him pulling the hat out and people freaking out, like cheering and all that, only to have him say a different school, and he didn't realize he had the wrong hat on. And
that's hilarious. Funny stuff, man. Funny stuff. But there will be a decision coming tomorrow, and hopefully it's one that everyone's happy about. Is Jalen Hood-Schifino is making his decision between Tennessee and Indiana, and from all accounts, Indiana seems to be in the catbird seat on that. But always wait till it comes out of their mouth, or you'll have a situation like we just saw.
Well, and shifting back, Charlie, how, and I mean, obviously Jim too, because we all involved in social media to some degree. How much crap would Eric Gordon have taken if Twitter had been a deal in 2006? or whenever it was early. When he changed his mind from Illinois.
Right.
I mean, he took enough crap as it was, probably just on Facebook or whatever MySpace.
Yep, exactly.
Think of how many. I've been on Twitter since 2008. I probably didn't really start using it until 2010, and I can't imagine what the crap he would have taken. I mean, he already took enough crap,
well,
but I can't.
There was a coaching change involved in that.
At Indiana, yeah. I mean, North Central
only reason he was ever going to Illinois was because of the coach at Indiana. That was the only reason. So I still get Illinois fans need to just get over it. You were never even in the picture if it wasn't been for the coaching situation.
No matter what, he wasn't going to stay the whole 4 years anyway. So
that's true. He was just the one.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He was going to be borrowed. I mean, I don't care.
And to answer my own question, North Central had to travel with security that year.
Wow.
So there was some stuff going on behind the scenes that a lot of us knew in real time. To what detail, we don't know, just that there was some stuff going on behind the scenes. And North Central, travel with the security guard, undercover guy for every game.
Wow.
So, and then they have a pretty good police presence. Township schools have had to have a police presence for a while, which is perfectly fine for me. I like being safe. So
nice.
Yeah, that's nuts that high school kids should have to deal with that. I mean, that's before now. So,
this kid probably getting it when he went home.
I can't imagine after that day. Wow.
Yeah, that would have been a fun conversation. That would have been a fun conversation to have. But man. But that's also shows you how hard this decision is on a kid. He's got so many people in his ear, family people that may have selfish reasons, friends that may have selfish reasons, just selfish people, especially now that money reasons, people that got money reasons. And so, man, it's got to be so much worse now. Well, they have to stay insulated.
It kind of goes back. I mean, Jim Reamer really, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but I'm just kind of around about. But it's like it's so many different moving pieces now, other than just the sport itself and developing in the sport, that is so tough for people like a Jim Reamer, a Charlie Miller, who wants to see the kid develop for life. As we talked earlier, Jim Coyle, about these, character, traits. But now you got all this, it's like the cart's becoming before the horse. It's like all these ancillary things other than just the sport itself that players now have to think about just getting better, on the court, on the field. It's so it's an interesting time in sports for me as an outlook.
I will hate to see a kid make a decision based on money. I mean, I would hate to see that. I know.
It's coming.
Absolutely.
We all know it's coming.
And if it's coming out of need, that's different to me. That is different. But then I would also tell that same player, because I've coached a couple of kids who have been in that situation. I've coached a kid that had to live with me for a bit, or it was better that he lived somewhere else, and it was easy to do that here. But if it's out of need, it's one thing. But the reality of it is that pretty much any school is going to then provide the opportunity to, every school is going to provide the opportunity to make money now because of the NIL issue. What will be interesting as sort of a side note is if you see a major player choose a smaller school because maybe someone's whispered in his ear,
right?
You come here and we'll take care of this, we'll take care of that.
Jim Reamer, come on, man. That's already happened. Dude. The highest bidder has always been the case. It's just that we haven't known about it. I can think about.
Well, you're not wrong there.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's, I can, there are several schools and some NBA players that, got a slap on the wrist, and one coach got fired and I don't want to go to the school. Player played there 1 year, but it was reportedly $300,000 he got to go to the school. Just, so I'm more than certain he went to the highest bidder just for 1 year. But
absolutely,
again, I may just be hearsay, right? But unfortunately, it's already happened. Now we're talking about things that were probably done behind the scenes, and I'm not condoning it. It's now going to become that he went because there's more loophole opportunity. So,
well, yeah, but it'll be interesting to see if a mid-major sneaks in and snags some stud. All of a sudden he's doing car commercials
because they got a Bitcoin expert, right?
Right, or they, right, and not to pick. I hate to pick on a school. I don't, like say IUPUI, my alma mater. So let's say all of a sudden, 70,000 of his jerseys fly off the rack, and somebody's behind the scenes making promises, and
that's right, big time.
It's just there are, like Zach said, there are so many things that we don't know how they're going to go yet.
Yeah.
And but
I think we've talked about them all.
Continue to come.
Oh yeah, all the possibilities.
Where it goes, and that's the thing. We're like, oh my God, then we start thinking of something else. Oh man, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that.
Well, I think Zach said it best. This might be retail, like hey, come do a spot, Charlie, at Buff Louie's. And we'll give you free wings, and we'll feed you dinner. We'll barter.
I like it. Well, it's been a fast show, and I'm thankful for you guys as always. Thankful for the listeners most of all. Thankful for Zach Osterman as well, Jim Reamer, Charlie Miller, and John, the producer. But most importantly, thank you guys. Without you, we have nothing to do. But we're back tomorrow to do it all again. Kevin Brockway back, Mike DeCourcy, Chronic Hoosier. Plenty to do, man. I hope you guys go out and have a great day. Charlie and Jim, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys, and appreciate everybody else. Until tomorrow, be safe, do something nice for somebody, and until then, I will see you on the radio.
Awesome. Hey, Jim, I'm back on Mondays. Just give